Hi everybody, we're up to lecture 5 in our journey through 1st Isaiah. And here we're going to look at Isaiah chapters 21 to 27. We're going to look at, firstly, another series of oracles, and then we're going to look at chapters 24 to 27, which is sometimes called the Isaiah Apocalypse. And then in between the first section on the oracles and a look at Isaiah, the Isaiah Apocalypse, we're going to just have a preface of that by saying, is this really apocalyptic? Are these 3 chapters apocalyptic? So therefore we have three sections. The first, chapters 21 to 23, they're the concluding oracles about the nations. The second section is, what is an apocalyptic, and does Isaiah 24 to 27 fit this category? And the third section is the little journey through chapters 24 to 27. Okay, so now the first of those 3 sections, the oracles against the nations. This is the conclusion of that. We looked at that last lecture. Here we're looking at just a couple of chapters, 21 to 23, and I want to look at 4 things only. The first of these is the fall of Babylon, which is in chapter 21, the first 10 verses. This is a very enigmatic poem, and it has produced a wide variety of interpretations. It would seem that what we have here is a visionary who experiences a really horrific vision, like whirlwinds sweeping in waves through the Negev desert. He sees a banquet scene and a call to arms. Now, just interestingly, in Daniel, the book of Daniel chapter 5, and in the Greek historian Herodotus, it seems that the Babylonian king and his court are having a marvelous feast as the enemy arrive and lay siege to the city. We've learnt that it's Elam and Media, allies of the Persians, who are the ones who lay siege to Babylon. Next we hear what the Lord says in the vision. Go, post a lookout, and have him report what he sees. And the watchman keeps duty faithfully until there comes the man in a chariot with the words, Babylon has fallen, and all the images of her gods are shattered to the ground. That's the heart of the vision. That's the main message that's coming across to us. That the rule of Babylon, the great Babylon, is over. And the final words are addressed to the people of Judah. O my people, crushed on the threshing floor, I tell you what I've heard from the Lord Almighty, from the God of Israel. So it's true. A word of consolation to the Jews who've suffered so much at the hand of the Babylonians. The Lord is Lord indeed over all the nations, Babylon included, and the Lord knows that it's going to fall. Just a small little interesting point to conclude that first section. The phrase fallen is Babylon. Babylon is fallen. In St. John's letter, the book of Revelations, that phrase is used to apply to Rome. Lifted from here and applied to Rome. The second thing I want to talk about are oracles about Arab peoples. Chapter 21 now, verses 11 to 17. We have here 3 short oracles which deal with places in Arabia, which is of course to the southeast of Judah. The first oracle is about Duma, a word which means silence or stillness. and it possibly refers to the country, the ethnic group of Edom. We have a dialogue between an inquirer and a guard, a sentinel. But what's meant is a little bit, it's difficult to understand. Jean Tucker suggests this meaning. Since morning came, and so did the night, be aware of the cycle of good times and bad, and keep on asking which is which. Keep inquiring. While Blenkinsop interprets it like this. The seer is holding out the hope of eventual deliverance, light at the end of a tunnel. For the night time is the time of defeat and danger, just as morning is the time of hope and redemption. As you can see, therefore, this highly symbolic poem is very difficult to interpret. The second little poem is an appeal to supply food and water to refugees from the ravages of war. It's interesting that two cities mentioned here, Dedan and Tema, are the great commercial centres of North Arabia. Then the third little oracle in this second section is in prose, and it announces judgment against the people of Kedar. The third oracle is an oracle about the Valley of Vision, chapter 22, verses 1 to 14. Now, strangely, this is not about one of the foreign nations. It's about the city of Jerusalem. And the title Valley of Vision, which has probably been added by the editor, refers more than likely to the Hinnom Valley, just west of the city of Jerusalem, as the place where the vision takes place. The opening verses, 1 to 3, show us Jerusalem, the citizens rejoicing after surviving an attack, but one in which the army and its leaders seem to have deserted. And this corresponds, we think, to the Assyrian king Sennacherib's campaign against the rebellion of Hezekiah, king of Jerusalem, when the army did desert the king, and the year is 701 BC. Now we can actually listen to what Sennacherib wrote about this particular campaign. And if you travel to Chicago, why not pop into the Oriental Institute at the university there, and you can read it for yourself. Although it's not in English, of course, it's in the language that Sennacherib wrote. As to Hezekiah the Jew, he didn't submit to my yoke. I laid siege to 46 of his strong cities, walled forts, and countless small villages, and conquered them all by means of battering rams. I drove out 200,000 people, young and old, male and female, horses, mules, donkeys, camels, cattle, and I consider them all as my booty. Himself I made a prisoner in Jerusalem, his royal residence, like a bird in a cage. Isn't that lovely? Like a bird in a cage is Hezekiah. Now, the verses 5 to 8 describe the invasion of Judah and the siege of Jerusalem in more detail. Then the next section is prose, verses 9 to 11, and that pictures the people of Jerusalem scurrying about, looking for weapons in the royal armory, mending the city walls from the stones coming from the demolition of private houses, they're doing that, and then securing the water supply. That's we can still see Hezekiah's tunnel, and when you visit Jerusalem, and you can see the water supply. However, Sennacherib withdraws.